are big sharers. Learn what we've learned during the course of a week only on Pod Pourri, a magazine that will always be loaded, only on the Podcaster, powered by Timbre Media.
Hello, Pod Pourri, the last episode of the series for this year begins now. Welcome everybody, Ahalya here, keeping you company, and I'm going to be joined by so many of our podcasters on today's show. Very excited that we get this year-end special as part of the podcast carnival thing that we've got going on. Make sure to keep an eye out for our releases, from the explainers to conversations with friends to the way we were. We're dropping episodes all through this week, and it's really just to give you a unique look back at the year of 2024. Now, Pod Pourri, to go back to its essence, right? When we first began this series, it was with the idea in mind that as podcasters working for some of the biggest names in business today, right? Whether it's HR or pharmaceuticals or technology, we've got clients from across the board. And no one conversation that we have is like the next that we're going to have, because that's just the nature of our work. And on any given day, we come across something that we didn't know the day before. Now, that's why Pod Pourri came to be, right? And while it's taken on a different avatar this past year, we're going to go back to our roots on today's episode. So the Timbre Media podcasters are going to be giving you the download of all of the crazy things that they've learned and come across, ideas, concepts, phenom, whatever it is, and also give you a little sneak peek into our lives as podcasters in 2024. We've all come across things that we didn't think we would enjoy, but actually do. And it's been an interesting learning curve for every one of us. So diving into that today, let's get started with maybe the first thing.
Well, it's good to be back on Pod Pourri. It's a special edition. My name is Sheetal, and as I look back at 2024, I find that there is one peculiar thing that has happened. I've always liked a good aroma, a fragrance. That's all of us have, I think, a particular fragrance that we connect to a time in our life. For me, Pears, for example, the soap Pears takes me back to a river close to my home in Gujarat, where we'd go swimming, and for some odd reason, maybe it was an 80s thing to do, my mother would pack us some soap so we could have a proper bath while, doing a few laps in the river. But yes, that's the kind of fragrance and memory association that most of us are familiar with. But then to take it to another level altogether, I blame these perfume influencers. I'm sorry, I refuse to take ownership for my own faults. But my God, this year has been nothing short of an obsession with fragrance. It's just, if I were to pick out one thing, it's probably that. Well, let me just put it this way. I've spent about half my salary on a single perfume in a particular month. And that's how mad this new passion has made me. But speaking of memories, got to share another one with you. Le Labo, that's the perfume brand, and their specific fragrance called Santal 33. Some people hate it. I love it. And it's because it takes me straight inside my grandmother's wardrobe, which had these sachets of sandalwood all the time. So time travel, that's really what a perfume, a good fragrance can do for you. And just to justify this madness, I did a spot of reading. I said, no, this can't be just, it can't be a personality thing, right? There must be some science to explain why this is happening to me. So I was quite happy to read in the Harvard Gazette, please note, that smell is the only fully developed sense that a fetus has in the womb. And that's really all that I needed to know to explain away this obsession. This Harvard Gazette article that quotes a co-founder of an olfactive branding company. See, someone's making money out of it. But yes, as saying that people also tend to smell in color. So these are some strange things about an ordinary sense like smell I have discovered this year. And now to put another 2 fragrances into my shopping cart.
Hi everyone, this is Brian. There are plenty of things that I've learned this year, and it's actually hard to pick one. So I thought I'll talk about a couple of them. Of the wacky things, I guess one would be the fact that if enough people in the world are convinced about something, a lot more will believe it without making any effort to actually verify or study. For example, on Unbelieve, Harish and I have discussed about a few topics that sort of fall under the umbrella of conspiracy theories. And among them have been a few absolutely nutty ones. Like, for example, birds are not real. Listen to the podcast, you'll get to know more. And of course, the other theory, flat earth, which I found really funny as well. Now, my observations during reading about some of these theories is that although the human mind is capable of absolutely incredible things, a lot of the times, maybe in most times, there is this follow the masses sort of outlook, which I think is a crying shame, but it is what it is. The other lessons have mainly been in tech. Now, it would take hours to cover them, but as a musician and a producer, I'm very excited about the modern day tools that I have to work with. The deeper lesson here, though, is something that I believe is applicable in any field or even in life as a broader perspective. There is always a lot to learn, and building a habit of acquiring knowledge and experience in any form will not just help with personal growth, but it's one of the best ways to kill the monotony that people seem to find in life. Make life interesting, learn, and of course, watch the podcaster. You will learn a lot.
Hi Ahalya, thank you so much for inviting me on Pod Pourri. This will be my first. So when it comes to wacky, crazy, important, I don't know, wacky and crazy, important? Yes, I think so. First new age reality dawned during COVID, right? That radio can be done from the confines of home. And this year, after joining the Timbre team, I got to experience full shows conceptualized all the way to execution, sitting in the confines of different cities even. I mean, not like it was uncommon. I've done it in the past, but to do it regularly, from interacting with clients to addressing their ideas, designing shows, I think it's been a refreshing chapter in my life after having spent close to 2 decades on radio, recording in a radio studio and things like that. Now, we've also come a long way in the digital era. While we feared the medium of radio wasn't relevant anymore, these whispers have been doing the rounds for a while now. Timbre Media has actually managed to keep the radio flag flying high, offering it in a, personalized format, doing a brilliant job of it. And then, of course, in keeping with the trends, pioneering podcasts for everyone who has the vision for some excellent conversations that can change the course of business mindsets and leave a lasting brand recall. So life's been good otherwise. But some things continue to blow your mind, like this one. Fun fact, did you know the word meme, which was founded by the scientist Richard Dawkins, what its authentic meaning is? It's a unit of cultural inheritance and the analog of a gene in its cultural inheritance. I'm not going to go down into the details, but to simplify it, what it actually means is, because it doesn't just apply to genes, anything that you say, and if it sounds really interesting, it has the capacity of it becoming repeatable. And then it could become a repeatable lie because you can't stop talking about it and then it spreads and becomes a meme. That's what a meme is. For instance, 25th of December isn't the real birth date of Jesus Christ. That's interesting, right? Maybe you want to say it again? Maybe it spreads? Go figure.
Hello, I'm Neerja, and I would say the thing I've learned in 2024 is portion control in every aspect of life, not just food. We've heard all the sayings. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Everything in moderation. Less is more. All of that. And I finally got it this year. It's not to say that you should control how much fun you have or curb your enthusiasm in any way. I think it's about the breaks, the things you do in the absence of something fun and exciting. So let me explain this. Portion control, I'll start with the most obvious thing. Eating in moderation has given me the time and energy to play more badminton. Portion control with the time I spend with friends and family, as much as I love it and I used to do it so much before, paring it back has meant spending more time with myself and learning to enjoy my own company. And I'll also say, if you haven't done karaoke all by yourself, I would highly recommend it. It's very liberating. And even portion control with the time I allow myself to be sad about something. Yes, it's super important to feel all your feelings, but it kind of helps to assign, say, 3 or 4 hours to mope around and then get back to life. So portion control, that's really the thing I've learned to do in a big way in 2024.
Well, I think my biggest learning, Ahalya, back on air, my biggest learning this year probably came in the form of the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Now, this is a book that I started reading a couple of months ago. It's a pretty thick one, and we don't read at the speed that people used to before, okay? So it has taken me a bit of time, not only because of the number of pages, but also because the ideas in this book really make you sit with them, right? Now, this was authored by Bessel van der Kolk. He is a psychiatrist and neuroscientist. And the reason that it intrigued me so much is because it reimagines trauma and how one can live with it and actually heal from it. And I think the reason it impacted me so deeply is because it gave me the ability to look at myself and the world around me, the people around me, with a little bit more understanding than last year. This book explores everything, right? From why trauma happens, the ways in which psychiatry and psychology today maybe have some shortcomings in treating it and how those gaps can be filled. But I think the most important thing that I took away from it is that there is hope, right? And if you just keep on trying, keep on keeping on, there is a point in time where you can heal and feel differently than you did before. I have spoken about this, on an episode with Nirja on our podcast Conversations with Friends. We were talking about therapy. And I think before I started reading this book, I have had an issue with, and this hasn't been diagnosed or anything, but it has always been a state of being for me to just be chronically anxious all the time. It's almost like a sizzle, right? And reading this book actually relieved so much of that tension, because I realized that if something is not working for me, I can just try to do things differently and find something that does work. The reason that I'm quoting it as the craziest thing that I came across this year is because the concept of you can truly heal from some terrible things that have happened in your life and move on from them and continue to be a full and whole human being is not something that I truly ever accepted. And having had my mind opened to the possibility of that healing has given me a lot of hope. Let me just wipe my tears. Okay, cool. So that's all of the stuff that we have learned, eye-opening revelations, all of that good stuff. But now into the world of podcasting.
We are big sharers. Learn what we've learned during the course of a week only on Pod Pourri, a magazine that will always be loaded only on the Podcaster. Powered by Timbre Media.
As Timbre Media, like I said before, we work with clients across the board, right? And we come across all kinds of things in the course of our conversations with our clients. And in our industry in general, it's hard to tell what the day is going to bring, let alone the year. And I think this year brought us to moments of confrontation where we had to confront the future of podcasting, the potential of podcasting, and all of the skills that we could all work on to take us into that future, right? So let's hear from the team about what they came across that was difficult at first or maybe new, but that they like. Let's hear.
Oh, updating my work calendar on the Excel sheet that the project's head and the whole team discusses every week. I mean, I've always designed my own calendar, so to be able to work on something handed to me actually is the simplest thing to do. But it took me a while to start off updating the sheet. I think easily more than a month or maybe even 2. But now I'm kind of good at it.
Hi, this is Harish, and a considerable part of what I do for Timbre is writing. And one thing I've realized over the course of this year is, I've been reading a book titled Writing for Emotional Impact. And I've realized that a lot of good writing is about connecting with people's emotions, right? So I've read where someone said, a writer is like a painter on the page, and emotions are the colors of your palette. Every word, every line, every moment in what you're writing will create a response in the reader. So it's up to us, to the writer, whether you want the reader or the listener to feel bored or to connect with what we're saying. So in a sense, a good writer or artist has absolute control over those responses, because emotion is everything in storytelling, and that informs a lot of our writing at Timbre. I'm looking forward to getting better at that in 2025 and really telling great stories.
It is an idea that has become real for me, more real than it ever has for me this year than it is this one. Never say never. You know why? Because when I was looking for a placement after I'd finished my mass communications thing right out of college, some well-meaning folks told me to go and have a chat with a few friends that they had in the area of business journalism. And I remember turning up my nose at that idea and saying, no way, I'm not going to talk about stock market and business and things like that. That's not my scene. I want to be a reporter. I want to bring in stories. I want to cover lifestyle and culture and speak to film actors and things like that. That's where all the action was. Well, in my defense, I was just about 20 at that time. But that said, as it turns out, the very thing I ran from came right back into my life, not just our collective lives as an organization, but my specific life, because the number of BFSI podcasts I've done, I tell you, is this okay? It's just like I had to sit back and tell myself, never say never, because the thing that I ran from is a thing that I ended up enjoying doing quite a bit. So that's one. The second one was video. This again was a sort of a crossroad kind of a moment because we had done some time in radio, me and a few colleagues, and another colleague had gone and joined the world of television, all glamorous, all important and all of that. And he called up and told me one day, are you done with radio, shadio, etc. in his typical style? And I said, no, I'm not done with this. Video is not my thing, or TV is not my thing. Well, not that Timbre Media is making television software, not quite yet there, but we're certainly doing a lot of video. And that, again, is an example of how never say never became real for me, more real than ever before. And you know what? I like it. I'd like for this to continue to be my mantra going forward as well.
Something new I've learned in this line of work that I'm quite surprised I enjoy is design. Yeah, I think I love me a bit of design work. Actually, I mean, routinely we work on video and static design, I want to say, and all of that. Most of the terminology is clearly lost on me, but I've learned a few tricks of the trade from having worked here, and I must say Canva is now an open tab. I use it to make invitations within my circle. I don't think these designs are ready to be pitched as a service to our clients in any way, but I'll get there. Right now, I'm still on the level of drawing stick figures and playing around with fonts and sending things backward and bringing them forward. I think if you're a designer, you probably understand what these things mean. But I'm confident that I am on my way to becoming someone who can confidently say that I am capable of being a good designer. There are so many steps ahead of me, but it's definitely a skill I want to improve upon. And it helps that I'm surrounded, in this organization by incredible designers. So we'll see how it goes.
So, I think for me, it's going to be writing as well, but not in the same sense that Harish was talking about, because I think I still have to get there. I'm still on the first step of just getting back to it, right? Writing used to be a huge part of my life, and I like to think that it always has been, but writing for work, it's a little different because as podcasters, a lot of times we don't usually follow a script, especially when we're having conversations with people, right? I mean, we have a rough sort of idea of how the conversation is going to go, but a word-for-word script, that isn't something that we use on a day-to-day basis, and it's definitely not something I work on a daily basis. But, this past year, we got a lot of different opportunities to sit down with the words and create an impact through that medium, right? Not just by using voice or conversation. And I realized how much time has passed that I've actually paid attention to doing it in that way. So I think this year reintroduced me to the power of good writing. And also, given the world that we live in, the marketing lingo and all of that, I think it also introduced me to the importance of good writing. And I have been a lot more mindful. So even if it's something as basic as a social media copy, I really take the time now to sit down and do it on my own, not with ChatGPT, okay? The first draft, at least, I try to come up with on my own to see if there's genuinely a unique idea that I can bring about through, the next 150 words. And more often than not, I find myself feeling quite rewarded. I don't know. There is something rewarding about putting your mind to it and coming up with something a little bit fresh, right? So writing, for me, has been the interesting thing. I just want to end today's podcast by saying a big thank you to all of you who have listened. Now, we at Timbre Media, through the Podcaster, are going to use 2025 to do new things. There's going to be a bit of a refresh. It's going to be an exciting year. And I'm very, very eager to see how it all plays out, and I invite all of you for the ride. Accompany us and let's go through this journey together. But wishing all of you a very happy new year in advance. I hope 2025 is amazing to you and that you are healthy and happy. That's pretty much all I wish for. Thank you for tuning in, and yes, lots of other wishes, I know. Okay, say.
Season's greetings, warmest regards, and a very happy new year from us podcasters to you.
Thanks, Ahalya, for having me on Pod Pourri. Here's wishing you and all the listeners a Merry Christmas and a stunningly beautiful and absolutely successful 2025.
I want to wish everybody a very happy and prosperous 2025 and beyond.
Hey, hello. Can I say something?
No.
Hey, please, yeah.
Find what?
I have a riddle.
What's that?
What did the cat say on New Year's Day?
What did the cat say? I don't know. What?
Meow.
Hey, who let this guy in?
We are big sharers. Learn what we've learned during the course of a week only on Pod Pourri, a magazine that will always be loaded only on the Podcaster, powered by Timbre Media.